Vicky, they're still quite pissed off with you three, but I don't really mind if Bert or Irene give you money. Vicky, you ought not to have let Nathan to move into my home. That was a really foolish move. Nor should Mark and Jennifer have been so forthright about their affection for Nathan. Nathan seemed to be a member of the family to all of you. He never was, never is, and never will be. I hope you three sorry fools will forgive me if I got Irene and Bert right, and your family hoped I would return. That's what Bert, Irene, and Sarah actually wanted. They believed that we could repair the damage, but as Nathan persisted, they realized it was not a good idea. They are rather irate with each of you, and rightfully so, based on what they told me in Fiji. Sarah informed Irene and Bert how you, Vicky, had coerced her into agreeing to a plan in which you wanted her to spend 2 weeks in a sunny, beach area with me in order to make up for what you had done wrong. It was referred to as making things even or something like. Thank you, but no thanks, I informed her. Both of us knew it would not occur. Sarah and I were not created that way. Sad to hear that you don't value your sister highly. We could still be together if you were only half as good as her. She added that you two were aware of your mother's suggestion for Sarah to attempt to win me over and that you approved of it. You three are garbage, you make me ill. To me, you are just that. However, it is all in the past now, right? You three, all of your rhetoric of missing and loving me, has nothing to do with me. Before Nathan was wounded, couldn't work, and things were tight financially, you were all great with him. Vicky can't be happy in bed with Nathan anymore, which must spoil your enjoyment of having him step in for me. And you too, you've just lost your life's easy ride. This is the true reason you are calling. You just want my money, you don't want me back. That's also my money. Vicky cried out, no, it's not, Brad. It's all yours, and it always will be. You believed that you were in charge and that you had everything all out. I warned you then that your thinking was shallow. Vicky, you're too proud. You failed at taking a chance? I owe none of you anything at all. Now that you have made your bed, lay in it. I have a few more items to give the three of you. This week, Ed, my attorney, will deliver the divorce documents to you. Really, it's simply a formality. The home is yours after the divorce, but that's all. I would never go back there anyway, like you. It's ruined forever. Mark, sign the divorce papers, and once it's all done, I'll give you my part of the house. You can keep it or sell it, doesn't matter to me. You might get a lot of money if you sell now, but if you don't want to sign, that's fine too. I can still have a great life with Tam Thong and the kids without being divorced from you. Being apart is easy in this place, no need to blame anyone. I just don't want us to be together anymore, that's all I'll say to the court. So sign or don't, it's happening either way. Oh, and I'm about to officially become the dad of the 2 kids you see playing out back. You don't get a say in it, only Tam Thong does, and she's all in. The paperwork will be done soon. I had to pay a little extra to get it fast-tracked, but it wasn't much. About Tam Thong, things changed today. I might not love her like I loved you, Vicky, but that love I gave you was a dead end. I do care for Tam Thong a lot, and I respect her. Our love will grow, especially when we have our own kids. That'll happen soon. I'll let Irene, Bert, and Sarah know. If they want, they can tell you. Last thing, we won't be here much longer. This place we're in is just for now. Tam Thong's got no ties here, so moving's easy. We're not sure where yet, but Fiji sounds nice. I can buy a house, and it seems like a perfect spot for us. Maybe we'll head to the Maldives next, it's pretty there too. I might buy homes in a few places, doesn't really matter where we stay. My parents will follow once we pick a spot, they sure love the little ones, and they think the world of Tam Thong for sticking by me. Bert, Irene, and Sarah are always welcome too. I bet they love the kids as well, they did spend lots of time with them in Fiji. But not you three, you're not welcome wherever we end up. Brad was silent for a while before he sighed. Vicky, I loved you more than you could imagine. I treasured every second with you for over 20 years. That was till you hurt me the way you did, same goes for Mark and Jennifer. My love for you was boundless, and my pride immense, until I saw your true colors. You showed me I didn't matter much to you, and that's not okay by me. So now, I just don't care about you three. You chose Nathan over me, and I chose 3 others over you, clearly, I won this trade. That's all there is to it. We're done now, forever. I'd say all the best, but honestly, I don't care what happens to you. Before they could say anything, Brad hung up the phone. For the first time in years, he felt good about his life as he reclined back. Vicky, Jen, and Mark were looking at the TV back in astonishment back home in the States. There was a pause before Mark said, "Who was that?" "That wasn't Dad." "It was," Jennifer said with tears streaming down her face. "Yes, it was. We made him that way." Vicky trembled so hard she felt she might burst, she was at a loss for words. Vicky was certain that Brad had something to do with Nathan getting hurt, he struck back, somehow. How could Brad be so mean? It was just a quick thing, nothing big. Nathan moving in was a must, if Brad had just come back, none of this would have happened. Nathan was only there to help, pay bills, and so what if they had some sex? It was just sex. If Brad was here, none of this mess would be here, and poor Nathan wouldn't have got hurt. Where do you think Dad is? In Asia, for sure. Those folks with him looked Asian, right? Mark said. Did they look Asian to you? Jennifer said, yep, he's in Asia. I've seen that lady's skirt before, I think they wear those in Thailand. Where the heck is Thailand? Mark inquired. Vicky gave him a little tap on the head and said, remember what I said. Come on, Mom, I'm almost 21. I said mind your words, Jennifer replied. Thailand on the computer. Wow, it's big. Looks the size of Texas or maybe Alaska. Dad could be anywhere there. Doesn't matter, he said he's leaving. Where to? Mark asked. Fiji or the Maldives? What are the Maldives and where's Fiji? Near Bermuda. Mark, don't you know any geography? No, I know Dallas, is that not enough? You're silly? So, Fiji's in the Pacific, not too far from Hawaii, a few hours by plane. The Maldives are south of India. Vicky was immobile and unable to think. She just sat there, sobbing, and clutching herself. Mark took a breath and said, this didn't go as we hoped. We thought he'd forgive us and come back, but he's so different now. Not the Dad we knew, except with those kids. That bugs me. Why, Jen? Inquired. That's not fair, Mark, Jenny questioned. That's not fair, Mark. That's not right, but it is, Mark. To him, we pushed him out, that's all he sees now. He's starting over without us. We made that happen. Jenny said something that shocked Vicky, it wasn't like that, and don't claim it was. She lost her temper. Jenny looked at her mom, yes it was, Mom, she said, sad-faced. Admit it, you started this mess, Mark, and I helped, but you led. We never stood up for Dad, we ignored how he felt when Nathan stepped in. We let him? We should have been there for him, but weren't. So, Mom, will you sign the divorce papers? I don't want to. Do you have a choice? Jenny pushed. No, Vicky said. I can't keep things this way. And did you get Nathan a car? Isn't he rich? Vicky just shrugged. I really don't know, Mark. He was so kind to us, helping us, me when times were hard, and I knew he liked that type of car. I just wanted to say thanks. I don't think others see it like that, Mom. It doesn't matter, though. Is the car wrecked? Vicky nodded. Pity, it was a nice car. That lady Tam Thong, she's really pretty. Vicky frowned, and Mark just shook his head. She is, Jennifer said confidently. You could see that she really loves Dad. Even though I don't really enjoy it, I'm glad Dad is content. She'd do anything for her dad, I bet. Mom is that. We are responsible for his departure. I don't mind if he's happy there. You can't really say that. You moved on first, now he has too, Vicky angrily said. Not cool, Jen, screw off, Mark. I think it's no different than you finding someone else, Mom. Jennifer shot back. Mom, me, and you are all equally horrible. You just give a damn about me, Dad's money, Mom getting into someone else's affairs, and Nathan's wrecked car. All I wanted was to avoid being caught in the midst. Dad, none of us deserve him. Vicky was furious. If that's what you think, she said. I want my dad back. You're holding my dad responsible for everything, even though he didn't do anything wrong. Both Mark and I did. Leave me alone, we're all at fault. Hey Jen, please ease up. He didn't refer to me as a mama's boy, at least. What an asshole. Just because I don't agree, now I don't care if he comes back or not, Mark said, annoyed. Mark was also a bit mad that his mom didn't scold Jennifer for her words. Then again, maybe it was because his mom was just shocked by Jennifer's outburst. Who knows? Nothing felt right anymore, and that just stumped Tam Thong. Moved away from Brad as he kept talking on the video call to his old family, she sat in the shade, arms on her knees, hands together, watching him. She thought he'd be mad or tense, but no, he looked chill and happy, even laughing with the kids. This made her smile. The kids were doing great here with Brad. They got healthy from good food and felt safe. He dressed them nice and made sure they knew their ABCs and 123s, just like he said he would. To her surprise, the kids loved learning. Their English wasn't perfect, and hers was rough, but Brad made them speak only English for half the day. It was funny, but it was working. The rest of the day, they spoke Thai, and Brad was getting better at it. He still looked up words a lot, but he was learning. Tam Thong didn't know the word polyandry, she had never heard it, but it's pretty much what Tylok meant in Thai ways. A man or a woman could have one legal wife or husband and then more Tyloks or extra spouses if they could take care of them. The first wife or husband had to be okay with new ones joining, but that wasn't usually a big issue. They often picked the person being brought in. This old custom was not so common, but it was still seen to exist. Even with the priest's best efforts, Brad was unable to get what Tam Thong wanted. To him, Tylok meant mistress rather than wife. He saw having a mistress as him being untrue to his wife, who was not faithful. He did not want to betray. This confused Tam Thong. She felt Brad's wife had no say in his life now that his wife was the one who had strayed. Her views on Brad receiving a Tylok did not matter or should not matter. The priest did his best to clarify things for them, but in the process, he simply added to the confusion. Tam Thong did not press Brad despite her frustration at not knowing enough words. She was certain the priest mixed his faith in while explaining. She did not want that, but the man. Brad tried looking up words in his Thai to English dictionary, but it did not help much. One thing was clear to her, though. Brad saying no was not because he looked down on her. Every time he was with Tam Thong, He was always kind and friendly. That would not be the case if he saw her as lower. He might have, but he never acted like it. No, what held him back was the promises he made to his unfaithful wife when they got married. Brad, more than anything, was a man of deep loyalty and dedication. He didn't really like sticking to one person, and that's why he had a hard time saying yes to her at first. But she got used to his way of thinking and respected his wish to keep his word. Still, every few months, she would ask him again, hoping he might change his mind. After several weeks of being stuck in Thailand, Brad had been thinking about something big that he couldn't seem to put into words. Tam Thong waited for him, not sure what he was thinking, but she figured it had to do with her and the kids. She always assumed that he might be planning to leave them, so when he finally spoke to her, she was shocked to hear that he was going to leave his wife behind. He asked Tam Thong if she would be willing to be his real wife after their divorce and if she would allow him to adopt her 2 children. After the video call, Tam Thong decided to be Brad's partner even though she hadn't waited to adopt. She'd phoned the priest to make sure she understood correctly before answering, and she said yes to both. 10 months later, Brad and Tam Thong's family were enjoying their newfound happiness in a large Fijian home near Suva on the large island of Viti Levu. The home had previously been a small beach resort that had gone bankrupt, but Brad had bought it for a pittance and moved the whole family into the spacious house with 6 spare bedrooms that were still available. This time, Sarah was unable to make it, but the good news was that she had found her true love and was honeymooning in Hawaii. Everyone was hoping to spend a few days in Fiji to see each other, provided they could manage to get up and going. They could stay in Fiji for 6 months with their US passports, but staying longer was easy with just a simple request. Bert and Irene were visiting and thinking about getting their own place on the island for when they retire. They also thought about just living like Aaron and Grace, staying in the suite they were in now, plus, staying there didn't cost them much. Everyone got along great. Bert and Irene really liked Tam Thong. Keith and Apsara were really proud to have Brad as their dad, but they still looked forward to spending time with Brad's parents. All 4 of the grandparents were thrilled about the new baby. Brad was only hoping for good health. Tam Thong was 8 months pregnant and had just tied the knot with Brad. Tam Thong had not disclosed the gender of the unborn child, so the grandparents speculated. "I truly do mean it, Mom. I shall always adore you. But because of the way you've changed, I can no longer be close to you. You're not the mother I loved and respected as a child. Since you decided to betray your marriage vow and destroy Dad's heart, I don't believe you've been that person. Naturally, you are blind to your own transformation. You believe that the kind, caring, and honest woman you have always been remains. You're not. You've only become more conceited and cruel after learning that your father really abandoned you. You refuse to acknowledge or believe that your relationship with Nathan caused our family to fall apart. You see nothing wrong with what transpired with Nathan. You see yourself as the one injured, not your father. You put all the responsibility on him, yet Dad isn't at all to blame. The fact is that your infidelity with Nathan caused you to begin destroying both your marriage and our family. Real thereafter, but first in your heart. You were upset when Dad rejected your affair since you had assumed he would be okay with it. You claim that he's simply being moody, but you're utterly incorrect. Dad has never been irritable, he never gets that way. He observes reality as it is. He knew there was no point for him to continue with us after seeing your treachery, as well as Mark's and mine. We severed his connections with us, so he went and had no intention of returning. I hold him not responsible. How was I able to? I had a hand in forcing him out. The issue is that you refuse to take a step back and consider the root of this disaster. You were the one. Only you. You believed at one time that you could do anything you wanted, regardless of who got wounded, for reasons you've never completely disclosed to either Mark or myself. You believed that you could excuse your affair by having it all figured out. How did Dad put it? That you weren't giving it enough thought. He was accurate. You were taken by surprise when he outwitted you, and you were undoubtedly humiliated and embarrassed that your father was really brighter than you. You ought to have waited and broken up with Nathan at that point. Waited to discuss and work out issues with Dad. We are all aware that what you did was incorrect. You made a terrible situation worse by allowing Nathan to come in because you were upset that things didn't go your way. This reminds me a lot of overindulging in oneself. Was Dad truly the one who footed the bill? You provided absolutely no assistance. Does that explain part of his rage? You damaged him by making him feel inadequate by being with someone else after listening to him, and then by forcing your new partner to reside in a home that your father bought for. How fail to see the injustice that did to him? I say you because you took the initiative and made it happen, even if it became more screwed up. But like Mark, I had a role in this as well. We were very foolish to support you, and Mark continues to do so. I still don't understand why I agreed to your suggestion. Why it's always been so simple for you to influence Mark and me is beyond me. I may or may not comprehend one day. As of right now, it is irrelevant. I had a hand in Dad's unfortunate events. Forever after, I will regret it, especially since I helped Nathan feel comfortable in that place. I hope I never cross across with someone as cunning as Nathan again. It's true that he exudes charisma, it makes you like him. Although Nathan was always kind to Mark and me, the fact is that he was a deceiver and a user just like you. All that was important to him was getting what he desired. He was utterly indifferent to the harm he caused to our family. I suppose Nathan simply never apologized because he never did so in a manner that I could hear it. The thing he wanted was you, and he got it. Whoa, you even got him a free car. Mom, you really did think it was a whole new level of stupidity, and you even brag about it. Naturally, Nathan revealed how he obtained the automobile. It seems that you offered him a surprise present. However, did he mislead you into believing it was your idea? Dad was aware that he was seeing ladies other than you. I've given it a lot of consideration. Dad could only have known if Grandpa Bert had informed him, which is most likely what happened when Nathan brayed at work. I mean, it makes sense. It seems that Nathan, your new partner, is exactly like you after all. He's simply another cunning cheater, no different from you. Mom, I attempted to discuss all of this with Mark, but he seemed uninterested. Mark is only concerned about himself. Is it true that he is still angry with his father for referring to him as a mama's boy? It's terribly unfortunate that I think Mark won't grow up. Like you, he disregarded me. So, to resolve this, with whom might I speak? Naturally, Grandmother Irene. She doesn't play games. Instead, she confronts the reality and observes things as they are. She wasn't kind to me, she didn't accept my reasons, let me tell you. Grandma Irene is someone I look up to and respect, and I adore her for that. She has my undying regard and admiration. I know you're wondering what this whole thing signifies. I have, to put it simply, left home. As in, you and Mark are home. I no longer want or have a place there with you folks. I know you're wondering why I'm writing you this letter rather than speaking with you directly. There are two reasons. The first is that you are a non-listener, rejecting information that contradicts your beliefs. I'm sick of being disregarded while you hold Dad accountable for your actions. Not anymore. It's difficult for me to refuse what you ask for, I confess, but I know I can't stand in front of you and say no. I decided to go the simple route and leave you this message. As you may have probably surmised, I'm leaving you and Mark to go look for Dad. I'm on a plane headed to locate him, but I'm not sure precisely where he is at this moment. I hope he will allow me to plead for his forgiveness because he is unaware of my arrival. If it means doing it in front of everyone, I'm willing to do it. I will stop at nothing to get my dad back, even though I'm afraid he won't accept me. I'm sure you're wondering how I paid for this vacation. Grandpa Bert and Grandma Irene come to mind. I have everything I need from them to see my dad. They're with him now, and they've promised to do their hardest to show Dad how much I want to spend a lifetime with him once again. I'm willing to take whatever penalty that Grandma feels I deserve, but she will be difficult to persuade. I'll look for work and move as near to Dad as I can in case he still refuses to forgive me. I won't be coming back to you and Mark, but that's my current plan. I'm shutting that door. If you want me back, only you and Mark can reopen it. I won't assist you, you have to make it happen. I have my eye on something else. I wish to meet my new brother and sister. I hope Dad and their mom, Tam Thong, permit me. I'd want to know her as well. Now, Mom, pose a few questions to yourself. Is our family where you imagined it would be when you started all this? Try to be honest with yourself. Did you see this breakdown of our family while you were sneaking around? Did you ever consider that this may be the end for us? Now that Dad has passed away and Nathan seems to mean nothing to you, maybe just for conversations, perhaps not even that, do you have any clue how to salvage what's left of your marriage, our family, and your life? Next, what are you going to do? When I began my letter by saying I love you, I wasn't lying. I really do. Not the you of today, but I will miss you very much. That mother seemed to have vanished. Is she able to return? I think I've stated all I needed to, so I should be done. Mom, even though I adore you, I don't like you. Jennifer? Enjoying his alone time, Brad was sitting on the balcony near the sea with his scotch and reflecting on what Irene had disclosed to him in private only 3 days before. Brad didn't know that Nathan had been treated badly, but even so, he didn't pass judgment. Even so, he shook his head and grinned, but he stayed by himself. Nathan received what they believed was fair thanks to the efforts of Irene, Bert, Grace, and Aaron, who all kicked in and hired someone. Brad chuckled, wondering whether his mother would have liked that the person be belted, or not. Maybe Grace had a voice in Nathan's suffering. Brad was certain that Nathan wouldn't destroy another family, even though he couldn't say for sure. They pursued him for that reason. Brad's devotion for those 4 incredible individuals was unwavering. After all, family is everything. More terrified than ever, Jen knocked on the door. With all she possessed, Jen stood at the man's door, hurting him deeply and pleading for his forgiveness. Jen didn't understand the woman who answered the door, but she knew who she was. Jen could not have imagined a more lovely lady, and she was about to give birth. Tam Thong? Inquired Jen. They stood still for a while, her expression devoid of emotion. Jen was taken aback. She wasn't sure whether she had arrived at the correct location, and seeing Tam Thong confused her. She had an emotional thrill. Jen said, is my dad, is Brad here? Tam Thong glanced at Jen before opening the door. Tam Thong, you wait, put bags here. Jen saw Tam Thong leave. She took in her surroundings. It was cozy and uncluttered, exactly like a true house. From the rear, she could hear children laughing, and Brad's voice as well. It brought back memories of her childhood with her brother Mark and Brad. As soon as Tam Thong spoke, the children's laughter stopped, and Brad arrived. When Jen saw him, she fell to her knees. He looked amazing. Perhaps it was because she hadn't actually seen him before that he was thrilled to meet Tam Thong and her children. Just trying to see him clearly, Jen sobbed. Oh Jen, I didn't anticipate this, Brad approached. "Dad," Jen said out of sheer frustration and gave him a strong, loving embrace. Her dad hadn't given her the same embrace in return when she released her grip. With a faltering breath, Jen began, "I'm sorry, I know I." Brad cut her off. He was blank, not angry or spiteful. No emotion was shown? Jen nodded slightly. She realized an embrace wouldn't be sufficient as her first rush of emotions was starting to fade. Brad had almost cut her off during their Skype conversation, but he hadn't shoved her aside yet. They planned to stroll, maybe there was yet hope, she thought. For a while, they strolled silently as Jen observed Brad surveying his surroundings. Did he find this new life more enjoyable? Was he attempting to have fun? Or was he just delaying the point when he would bid her farewell? Jen made the decision to talk first. "She's pretty, Dad." "Who's Tam Thong?" He emerged from his reverie. After Brad answered, "Yes, she is. In a lot of ways, she really is. I'm happy you met her, or that you both met, I guess." There was a pause. He turned to face Jen and paused. "Is that why you came all this way?" Jen chuckled, but it sounded forced. "No, I just don't know what to say." "You came all this way and don't know what to say," she said. "There's no book on how to fix a mess like this. Watch your words." "Sorry Dad, but I'm nervous, scared, happy, terrified. I'm losing it, so sorry if I swear again." Jen breathed deeply. "Dad, I left Mom and Mark." Brad questioned. "You did? What about him?" "Him too, I guess. I didn't really see him as part of my life to leave. I didn't spend much time with him, Dad. Truth is, I kept away from him and Mom. I even got a job at school to stay away. I talked to Grandma Irene a lot about them, and she helped me see things clear, Dad. I'm so upset with how I acted, I can't. I just can't. How do I fix things with you? How can I make you forgive me? You're the most important, not Mom, not Mark, and not him. I left it all just to find you. Why? I thought it was clear the last time we spoke, you did, Dad. But I wasn't clear for a long while," Jen said. "I love you, Dad. I know after all that happened it might seem hard to believe, but it's true. It took me too long to see how much I care about you and what Mom really did to you. By the time I saw the truth, I thought it was all over." Brad questioned, "What truth did you find out?" "I found out what I messed up." "What do you mean, what I messed up?" Jen said. "After you were gone, I realized something. I realized that fun things didn't make me happy for long. I would get mad or sad easily. Sure, I could laugh at a joke, but the happy feeling was always short. It wasn't like when we were a family. That's when I got it, family, Dad. When I really saw that we tore our family apart just so Mom could have fun, it broke something inside me, something you taught me, always to love our family. I was part of what ruined our family when Mom convinced me. At first, she made me think that making her happy would make us all happy. Deep down, I knew it was wrong, but every time I tried to speak up, she made me think she was right, saying it wouldn't hurt us. Then when everything fell apart, I had a moment of truth. I saw why I was so unhappy, because I messed up. I hurt you, and it split our family." Brad said, "Jennifer, it definitely wasn't just you. I know it wasn't just me, but I played a part in it, and I shouldn't have. I went along with Mom's lies, I ignored my conscience, and it cost me my dad and my family. You still got your Mom and Mark." "No, Dad, not anymore. I told Mom we're done. If she wants me or Mark back, it's on them. They don't get what family is. I can't be with them until they do." Mom's lost, always asking why folks can't stand her choices. And Mark, I guess he missed out on brain air when we were little. Only way it makes sense why he's not upset like me. But forget them, Dad. Even if you don't forgive me, I'm not going back to them. I came here to try and get your forgiveness. I really hope we can fix things so you can be my dad again. But no matter what, I'm not going back. What do you think will happen, Jennifer? Where will you go if I don't let you stay? Brad inquired. Well, I finished school, Dad. I got my degree, and I applied for a teaching job here in Fiji, English and math. I have an interview next week. I thought if you're still mad, I'd find a place nearby and take the time needed to make things right with you. I'm not leaving you again, Dad. Never, Jen replied. Brad gave Jen a brief glance, and a little smile appeared on his face. Is that so? You really mean it? I do, Dad. I swear. Come on, where to? You kicking me out? No, I'm not. You haven't met your brother and sister, Keet and Absara, Brad grinned. Welcome back, Jen. Just please don't mess this up like before. Jen turned to face Tam Thong, who was grinning broadly, and said, I won't, Dad. Never again? She could tell Tam Thong was pleased that her husband had reconciled with his eldest daughter and welcomed her back into the family. He waits so long for you. Now you be good, he very happy, huh? She embraced Jennifer. Bert said, I finally won one, as he and Irene watched Brad, with his arms wrapped around Jen and Tam Thong, make their way home. Yes, my dear, Irene patted him on the back. Grinning, she walked away, leaving Bert to observe by himself. Bert said, Aaron, did you hear that? As he turned to face Aaron but instead saw Grace arrive. Grace said with a wide grin, Grace, guess who gave Jen the address? Grace laughed and left Bert, eager to see her granddaughter and welcome her back. Bert, we all love you, but you're always a bit late behind Irene. It was Irene who got Jennifer here, Grace added. After 5 years, Vicky massaged her eyes, feeling fatigued. Nathan attempted to get a little more sleep before the alarm went off again, complaining that it was too early. Vicky laughed at how ridiculous that was, remembering the early mornings when Jen and Mark refused to get out of bed for school. She realized that it had been almost 5 years since their last conversation, thinking about Jen. Jen had moved in with her dad and they were getting along well. Now that she loved her stepbrothers and sisters and they loved her, Jennifer would remain with her father and his family. After allowing herself to mourn Jen's absence for a little while, Vicky went about her day. Vicky caught Nathan's alarm going off once again. Nathan's agony was severe as he punched the snooze button many times. He is not a morning person, but often using the snooze button indicated that something was wrong. Vicky reached over to touch his shoulder. She said, Hey, are you okay? With a grunt, he remarked, My back hurts. I'll fetch your pills, she remarked, making her way over to the pharmacy. Glancing through the bottles, she set the ones she didn't need aside in order to find the correct medicines. Nathan swallowed the tablet with some tap water and said, Only 2 left, I'll have to go out and get more. I'm grateful, he said. 5 years later, Vicky wasn't happy that he referred to her as babe. Brad ought to be the one to call her that. In 5 years, she and Nathan had not been close at all, and he had never, not once, attempted to make her happy in any other manner. How could he refer to her as babe? You're welcome. There's just 1 pill left, I'll get more at lunchtime. Will you be okay until then? She said. Yes, I'll be fine. I'll stay home today, call me if it gets too bad. "I'll sort something out," she said to him. "Thanks. Now you better hurry, or you'll be late for work," she continued, making careful to emphasize that she still only ever said "I love you" to Brad. "Okay, okay. Love you," she replied. Once again, Vicky decided to remain at home. Having lost his first work due to a brawl, his current position was already in jeopardy. Nathan had transformed, not much of the previous Nathan remained. Even though he still had money, he preferred not to spend it, so Vicky covered all expenses. Even though Nathan was now a part-time employee at Sam's Club, he continued to miss work. Even though Vicky didn't believe he would be in the position for very long, she remained silent. Vicky felt that marrying Nathan was her just retribution for the pain she had caused Brad and her family. This marriage included just a feeling of obligation to suffer, not love. Vicky followed her lead without voicing any objections. Although Sarah, her sister, somewhat reconciled with her, Sarah remained distant and refused to interact with Nathan. Every year, she would give Vicky a couple calls, usually around the holidays. Vicky missed her sister so much, oh God. Sarah remained close to both their parents and Brad's family. With his new partner, he had a large, happy family of 6 now. Sarah would secretly take pictures of Vicky while making her pledge not to reveal them. Vicky found the pictures of Jennifer looking healthy and joyful to be a sweet sting. She never showed them to Nathan. She had to carry the weight of them. At times, Vicky worried about Nathan's well-being and wondered if she might wake up one morning and find him gone. Would she be upset? Perhaps a bit, but Vicky knew exactly what she was going to do next: sell the home, clear everything out, and then search for Jennifer to beg for her forgiveness. Vicky yearned for her daughter and her parents. Following Sarah's directions, she had attempted to locate Fiji on internet maps in the hopes of catching a glimpse of her family's whereabouts. She believed she had located their hiding place on the Big Island. It seemed rather lovely in a Skype photo. If this is the case, maybe she could visit it if Nathan would simply disappear forever. She would grovel before Jen and her parents in Fiji. It may well occur. Vicky felt lunch approaching quickly, so she strolled to the nearby pharmacy. As she did so, she considered the cost of Nathan's medications and was grateful for her health insurance. Vicky was considering quitting her job since she had saved up enough money to be comfortable. But as Nathan's medical expenditures mounted, that concept quickly faded. Not because she hated her work, rather, it was unfulfilling. It took some professional conversation for her to realize that her work was more enjoyable after a day and felt wonderful when she could return home to her family. Brad would listen to her highs and lows on her good days and bad. Mark and Jen would give her a hug. Even when he was sober or off his painkillers, Nathan was the only one at home now, and he didn't want to hear about her day. The man at the pharmacy inquired, "Pick up?" "Yes," said Vicky, giving Nathan's information. 3 additional medications and painkillers were established. Vicky exhaled as she made her payment. She thought, man, Nathan was in a bad way. It was one thing then another after leaving the care facility. He had to remove a floating piece of bone as it was impairing his hearing in one ear. He developed kidney stones as a result of the medication, and over time, other issues as well. But now he was experiencing severe back pain due to spinal issues. When Vicky went outdoors, she didn't want to tempt destiny by asking what else may happen, but fate had other ideas. Vicky saw her son Mark standing across the street, clasping hands with a woman who wasn't his spouse. Considering how badly Vicky handled her own life, Mark's marriage to Chloe 4 years ago was a rare blessing. What was Mark thinking and doing? She hurried after Mark as she dashed across the street. He pulled up in front of an apartment, grinning broadly and chatting with a woman. It was too late for Vicky to stop him. Mark gave her a full-on kiss, leaving no room for speculation, as he leaned in. Mark was happy until he met his mother. Gripping the woman's hand, he turned to face his mother. Mark began, "Mom, this isn't." Vicky gave Mark a forceful hit, causing him to stumble back and land her palm on his face, slapping him. "Don't start with 'it's not what it looks like.' It's just that Chloe's the best you got for us left in the family, and you didn't learn anything from all my mistakes. You better fix this and hope you can save your marriage, or you'll see how bad it feels to lose the best part of your life. I know I messed up, got the papers to show it, and it's been bad every day since." Vicky turned to go, without waiting to speak with Mark. Years and much assistance later, she finally saw where she had gone wrong, but for now, she wished she had insisted Mark get the same assistance. Like his mother, her son was shallow and self-centered. 5 years had passed since Vicky last saw Brad, but fate had other plans. At a local charity gala, their eyes met across the crowded room. Vicky's heart raced as Brad approached, his face unreadable. "Hello, Vicky," he said, his voice neutral. "Brad," she breathed, I didn't expect to see you here." An awkward silence fell between them, years of hurt and regret hanging in the air. But as they began to talk, the ice slowly thawed. They cautiously shared updates about their lives, careful to avoid sensitive topics. Just as they were finding a comfortable rhythm, Vicky's phone buzzed insistently. It was Chloe, Mark's wife, sobbing hysterically. "Vicky, I caught Mark cheating. I'm leaving him," Chloe wailed. Vicky's face paled. "Brad, I'm sorry, I have to go. It's a family emergency." Brad's expression softened. "Is everything okay?" Vicky hesitated, then admitted, "No, it's not. Mark. He's made it a terrible mistake." To her surprise, Brad offered, "Do you need help? I can come with you if you'd like." Grateful for his unexpected kindness, Vicky nodded. As they hurried to her car, she filled Brad in on the situation. When they arrived at Mark and Chloe's house, they found a scene of chaos. Jennifer was already there, trying to calm a distraught Chloe while Mark pleaded for forgiveness. As soon as Mark saw his father, he froze. "Dad! What are you doing here?" Brad's presence seemed to shock everyone into silence. He took a deep breath and addressed the room. "I know I'm probably the last person you expected to see, but I think I might be able to offer some perspective here." Over the next few hours, Brad shared his own journey of healing and forgiveness. He spoke of the pain of betrayal, but also of the power of growth and second chances. His words seemed to resonate with both Mark and Chloe. As the night wore on, Vicky found herself alone with Brad on the porch. "Thank you for being here," she said softly. I owe you an apology." "For everything?" Brad was quiet for a moment. "Vicky, I won't pretend the past didn't happen. But seeing our son make the same mistakes, it's made me realize that holding on to anger doesn't help anyone." Just then, Vicky's phone rang. It was Tam Thong, Brad's wife. Vicky's stomach clenched as she handed the phone to Brad, but his expression changed as he listened. "Vicky," he said, sounding bewildered, "Tam Thong wants to talk to you." Confused, Vicky took the phone. To her shock, Tam Thong invited her to visit them in Fiji. "Family is family," Tam Thong said warmly. "We all make mistakes. Maybe it's time to heal." The invitation set in motion a series of events that would change their lives forever. 2 weeks later, the entire extended family found themselves on a healing retreat in Fiji. It was awkward at first, with old resentments bubbling to the surface. But as they engaged in open discussions and shared activities, bonds began to reform. Just as it seemed they were making progress, disaster struck. A powerful cyclone hit the island, forcing them to work together to survive. As they huddled in a storm shelter, waves crashing around them, Vicky found herself clutching Brad's hand, both of them protecting their grandchildren. In that moment of terror, something shifted. The petty grievances of the past seemed insignificant in the face of potentially losing each other forever. When the storm finally passed, they emerged to find much of the island devastated. But as they worked together to rebuild, they found themselves rebuilding their relationships as well. Months later, as they gathered for a family dinner back home, the change was palpable. Laughter filled the air, and the tension that had defined their interactions for years was gone. Brad raised his glass for a toast. "To family," he said, his eyes meeting Vicky's across the table. "To second chances, and to the love that never truly dies." As Vicky looked around at the faces of her loved ones, she felt a peace she hadn't known in years. The road to healing had been long and unexpected, but they had finally found their way back to each other. As the years passed, the Duncan family's renewed bonds grew stronger. They established new traditions, like annual family reunions in Fiji, where they'd first rediscovered their connection. Brad and Vicky, though not romantically involved, developed a warm friendship based on mutual respect and shared love for their children and grandchildren. Mark and Chloe worked hard to rebuild their marriage, attending counseling and committing to open communication. Their journey of reconciliation inspired others in the family to address their own unresolved issues. Jennifer, who had been instrumental in bringing the family back together, flourished in her role as a teacher in Fiji. She started a program to help underprivileged children, often enlisting her family members to volunteer during their visits. Tam Thong and Vicky's unlikely friendship blossomed, surprising everyone. They bonded over cooking, with Tam Thong teaching Vicky traditional Thai recipes and Vicky sharing American classics. Their laughter in the kitchen became a familiar and heartwarming sound during family gatherings. However, their newfound harmony was tested when Brad faced a health scare. During a routine checkup, doctors discovered a potentially cancerous mass. The news sent shockwaves through the family, bringing back painful memories of past separations. As Brad underwent tests and waited for results, the family rallied around him. Vicky, putting aside any lingering awkwardness, took charge of coordinating his care. She spent hours researching treatment options and accompanying him to appointments, her presence a comfort to both Brad and Tam Thong. The night before Brad's final diagnosis, tensions ran high. Old fears and resentments threatened to resurface as the family grappled with the possibility of losing him. In a moment of vulnerability, Vicky confessed to Brad how much she regretted the years they'd lost. "I know we can't go back," she said, tears in her eyes, "but I want you to know how grateful I am that we found our way back to being family. Whatever happens, Brad, you'll always be one of the most important people in my life." Brad, moved by her words, squeezed her hand. "We've all made mistakes, Vicky. But look at what we've built from the ashes. Our family is stronger now than it ever was."